Good morning. We have got Dana here and Sophia. So we'll see how that goes. She's been a little bit of a challenge lately. She's just a puppy. So we have been talking about the tools that Dr. Nash gave me. And these are tools to help people that have been traumatized by childhood sexual abuse. And there's a few more in my book, and I'll just let you read those on your own. It's called Identifying and Healing Childhood Sexual Abuse. It's right here. But now I want to talk about a really fun thing. After group with Dr. Nash, I did my own group in a church. And this was so amazing. We sent out flyers and people showed up. And that first meeting, there was about 6 of us in the mother's room, which was a small, intimate setting with cozy chairs. And I shared my story. And people said, well, my story isn't anything like that. I wasn't hurt that bad. But I said, okay, now share your story. And the first girl that spoke, she said, I have never before talked to or listened to another person that has all the problems that I have. And she said, I thought I was the only one in the world that was suffering like this. And as we went around the room, everybody said the same thing, that no longer did they feel alone with their chronic depression and anxiety and extreme sadness and panic attacks and the whole list of 100 different after effects of sexual abuse. And it was so incredible to see the eyes of these people being encouraged that they were no longer alone. And each one shared their story. It didn't have anything to do about sexual abuse at the time because I didn't have any memories yet. It was all about the after effects. And I didn't even lead the group. I felt that God was leading the group. He would tell me things to say and things to do. And the whole atmosphere in this room was just heaven sent. It was like the Holy Spirit was right with us. And at the end of the hour, nobody wanted to leave. And we sat there and just shared for another hour. And everybody wanted to come back. And they wanted to get better. And they wanted to learn everything that I had been taught by Dr. Nash so that they could go out in the world and face their fears and not be housebound. The first girl I spoke to was housebound, and I met her at her home. And oh, she reminded me of myself so much. Just terrified and afraid to join the world. She just sat in her little corner. And each week we would meet again, and we would share. I said, share just a tiny bit about the difficulties, but let's mainly concentrate on the praise reports, on the things that you have done. And so it wasn't a lot of negativity. And each week people were talking about how they were too going out and facing their fears and doing things that they had never done before. And when somebody improved, everybody else wanted to do what that person was doing. And it was so cool because it was just, the group was just building and improving and interacting and getting better and getting better. We had two men that were in the group too, and one said, he said, I'm an alcoholic because of the fear. And he was just welcomed with open arms, and we never said anything about, oh, you have to stop drinking and give him all these rules and things. And after a while, he said, you know, this is the first group I've ever been to for help that hasn't told me to not drink. And because of that, I stopped drinking. That was wonderful. That was all God. And oh, there's just so much that was good. It was for a whole year. I had seen Joyce Meyer in person. She was just beginning her ministry back then, and I bought lots of her tapes, tapes on fear and anxiety and all these sorts of things, and I would bring them, and I started a library where people could check it out and bring it back the following week. And people would say, I listened to her tape and I did this and this and this, and I felt so good. And then someone else would say, I want that tape. I want to check that tape out next. And all my tapes were just gone. They had just taken all the tapes home. They were listening to them. The first time I listened to Joyce Meyer, it was her tape, her testimony, because she was sexually abused by her father. And it was just my story to a T. And so I learned what she did and how she approached it and how she prayed and the Bible verses that she used. And it just helped me so much. So I'm just kind of speechless when I talk about it, because I remember back, it was almost like there was a hazy fogginess in the room of God's presence in the room, and everybody felt it. They said that they had never felt such peace before in their life. And Pastor Pat, he would pop in every once in a while and see how we were doing and check in on us, and that was always good. He was entertaining. And many of these people came to our church then. And Julie Bigler, who I think was one of the very, very first ones to come, she started playing the piano at church, and they got involved and asked Jesus into their heart. And it was so fun. I was like a mama watching all her kids just improve and improve and improve. It was amazing. And Pastor Pat said to me, someday you're going to write a book about your whole story. And so I went home and I wrote this 15-page book, and I brought it back, and it was for all the people in the group. It had all the tools that I used, and just little bits of information to help them. And I handed it out, and Pastor Pat saw my book, and he says, no, I mean a real book. Someday you're going to write a real book with all the information that you have. And I didn't think that was ever possible. But 30 plus years later, I did write my first book, and there's been 5 others to follow it. And but I just wanted to share that with you today. That was a highlight of my life. That year was so incredible. So if you have any of the problems that I've talked about, these 100 after effects, if you share them with other people, you'll be surprised how many people will say, I either know what you're talking about because I have it too, or I have a friend that has it, and I'd like to introduce you to her. Because people keep this all a secret. They're ashamed to share all these problems that they have. But we need to bring it all out into the light and share it and be healed. But that's what I have for today. So please like and subscribe, press the notification button, and keep tuning in. I pray for you all, and we'll see you next time. God bless.